in the call, so we can get started. Okay, so with respects to training, did anyone first of all write anything into that collaborative document?
Not yet.
I just started it, so I couldn't only had view only at the point. I don't think I didn't have anything for that yet either. It's something I was going to say.
No problem. I'm going to go through the document. That way we can just make sure that we're going through all the lessons and if you have any questions. Kim, how much of the training were you able to get done?
Just like the sensors and stuff, and then kind of the introductory parts.
Okay, and then did you do the TechyKids lessons then?
That's next. I'm going to go through those.
Okay, and then Parto, you did which ones?
I've done, I think the other ones I haven't done is the sound and the building with Lego and the code. I've done everything else. So, you know, there were some quizzes that I took and it looked like the quizzes I passed, but it would not give me a confirm. So I took some notes down, so I'll give you feedback.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, that's a good use case for the collaborative lesson feedback. I'm going to share that link again right here in the folder. And give me 1 second.
Oh. Now I remember the note that I have over here.
What's that?
You were asking before about notes, and I just had one, besides the quiz things, I had a similar problem. Just little ideas for like getting attention, people's attention and gaining it and gathering that information and making it in a fun way when you had the name game, bringing in different types of cheers to like science, fun type of activities to get their refocused in the classroom. Boy.
Oh, you're saying you have some notes that you took related to that?
Yeah, I just couldn't think. I couldn't make a note, and I'm just gonna add just different types of cheers, like when I do it in after-school programs or in scouting activities, where I try to think of something kind of fun. Where I say one half, and they say the other half to refocus people when the rooms, like if you have a larger group of people who are trying to get our attention, or people who need to recenter on their activities.
Okay, cool.
Probably like introduce right after the name game that in that area.
Yeah. Definitely like whatever like bits or pieces, like the TechyKids is pretty flexible, so if you know something complimentary, then feel free to do that. It's just a basic guideline. Let me just okay. So this little document, that web page has, it's the training page. And if you scroll down, I'm also linking the 3 main documents. One is the training document that is very centered about our group. The second one is the TechyKids Camp Educator's Guide. That's the thing I just shared with you. That has like the lists of equipment that you need, help to set up the camp. And that basically is a nice how-to and even has a nice kind of guide about the flow of the week as well. And then collaborative feedback and questions document just has the place where if you have a problem with a quiz or questions, just write it under the lesson title. And that way, we can improve it. So first of all, the TechyKids system, you'll be starting off with the TechyKids intro course. I had mentioned before that you can either do this course, you can either do this by using my framework, or you can also do some of it. I'll give you a PowerPoint presentation that you can also have and show yourself if you wish.
Right.
The name game is really fun. It's the icebreaker to get everyone comfortable with each other, get a few laughs out, get to know everyone's name. It really starts building the environment of TechyKids. The second one is the TechyKids culture and rules. Now, that one basically, it gives the framework. It's like you can play all in this area, but these are the lines that we don't cross. And that's really important because the TechyKids system is very flexible and allows a lot of open-ended creativity and so forth. But with freedom, the rules need to be very obvious. So we give words like no idea is a bad idea. If somebody's saying mean things, please just tap them on the shoulder. And if they're still continuing to say mean things, you know, talk to the teacher. It gives a framework to work by. And it's really important we say safety first to make sure that the kids are keeping in mind that they need to be safe themselves and also say something if one of their classmates isn't being safe. Any questions about TechyKids culture and rules or the name game? Okay.
No.
So is that pretty clear of why it's there?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Pretty basic for what a lot of
the next
things I worked with.
procedure, since TechyKids flips the room, it makes it say the first thing is you listen up, absorb as much information as you can, and then we want you to try it yourself. You know, we're dealing with like a robot that's not going to hurt them, and we're not dealing with like sharp tools, so it's not going to mess up if they write a wrong part of code. So we want them to be experimentative and try it themselves and have that confidence. And then if they still have problems, ask a friend. That way they get the community and they can start talking to one another and learn from one another. And then if their friend still has problems, then ask the teacher. That changes it so the bottleneck is not the teacher. That way you don't get like 15 hands shooting up. And the great thing is if the person has a question, they try to figure it themselves and they succeed, great. If they ask a friend and the friend knows, then that's a teachable moment. And if both people don't know, that means that there's a real point of confusion. And often enough times when I have 2 or more people who are confused, I'll go, and then I'll make an announcement to the entire class, the answer. I'll say, hey, these guys had this question and, you know, I'd like to go over it. And so it's a great segue into a teachable moment for everybody. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So that's how the room management happens. That way it's not like 15 questions happen and now everyone's waiting to you. So it basically makes it so everything happens more in parallel. If someone gets stuck and it's a real sticking point, then you can bring it to everyone's attention and keep going. So that's a very important dynamic of the TechyKids classroom. So the next one is the TechyKids system, which actually shows technically how the flow of the lessons work, how the kids can take notes. The kids actually, a lot of them really like taking notes. So that's an ability that TechyKids has. Within a lesson, you can click notes and you can take notes. Also with the video one, there's a place where they can actually write out their script. Just make sure they actually hit save, so that way they save their work. So any questions from TechyKids intro course?
No, I was curious, what age kids are taking, do you find typically taking notes?
It really varies. It's really a personal preference. Okay. And I don't.
I mean, I'm just curious. I was curious at what age people were starting to do this. Just curious.
Like, I know fourth graders enjoy taking notes.
Okay.
You know, they get creative. Like, sometimes it's funny to read through the notes. Like, you see some interesting ways that people like synthesize information. Yeah. But just be careful because whenever you have extra things like that, some kids can take a steep tangent into those directions. Like they think that they need to type in every note. Like I had one kid who was like typing what I had in the lesson. I'm like, that's not really how the notes are used, right? Like, like I think I've had a kid that like copied and pasted what I put in the lesson into their note, which is, you know, so you start to discover just interesting ways that they perceive things, and then you can always have conversations around it as well.
Okay.
Okay, so Thymio Course Beginner. It starts with an interactive animal project. What we'll need to do is I'll probably have like one account, maybe one master account, or each of you will have a Gmail account that you'll have all of your kids log into. The kids are pretty good about not messing with their own file, with other people's files, as long as they understand that Google is collaborative, and if you open someone else's file and you mess it up, it messes up the real file. So as long as they understand that, they usually, I've never had an issue. I had one incident when I was teaching at the school where a kid didn't realize they were just having fun, and they didn't realize they were actually messing up people's real files. So if you just put that knowledge out there up front, like, hey, we're all going to be using this same account. Please only open your files because you can affect other files. That usually solves it.
Okay.
So, and then that makes it really easy because the Google account, the Gmail account and everything is complementary to TechyKids because they get to work on their Google Slides. So that's the big driver for having a Gmail account. And also it makes it easy if they take a photo of an iPad, they can just email it to that account. And it's just an easy way to transfer information between, you know, accounts and so forth. And then what we do is we share the folders, and then those become where we store like the videos and everything like that. So it's good to have that Google account in order to have an extra tool in the classroom. Any questions there?
Well, not individual accounts, out of curiosity. I mean, I just know our kids' schools have individual Gmail accounts for everybody, so I'm just curious as to why not individual accounts.
You said why not individual accounts?
Right.
It's actually better not to have them use their individual accounts.
No, creating individual accounts per kid. I'm just curious if that.
Oh yeah, because we might use data, and also it's harder to manage. We want to just kind of have what we need in the class, and so creating individual class, it can also be a privacy issue, like they could use it at home and so forth. So overall, just even having just one is better because kids get resourceful. So having one and just giving them the login makes it a lot easier than this is your own, because then we'd have to police what they're doing in that account. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, I just curious because I know our schools do individual accounts. I was just curious as making sure people who are going to, I just wonder if kids aren't going to like mess with kids' accounts.
Yeah, if you're going to be teaching internet safety and this and that, but we're just using this in camp, and it's easier if all the files are with one, and if they close the account, they'll have access to the main file and everything like that.
Perfect.
Yeah, so it just makes it easier just to have one central account.
Sharon, I have just a quick clarification. When you say individual accounts, you're doing the one Google account and then the plus, the main ID plus someone. Is that how you're doing the logins?
No, I'm not talking about
and
that.
If that's the case,
I'm literally talking about a Google account right now. I'm not talking about the TechyKids.
For the documents.
Yeah, I'm talking about a Google account for the document. I'm not talking about TechyKids accounts.
Okay, got it.
Because what's going to happen is everyone's going to have their own TechyKids account that gives them access to the courses, and then we're just going to have one class Google account where they can, email the photos that they take to themselves and so forth. Because it also makes it easier because when you have the iPad in the classroom, you just have that iPad logged into the TechyKids Camp account, and it's just very easy to share back and forth then. You don't have to worry about logging in, logging out, and so forth. Everyone's just logged in the whole time. And the problem is if you have the kids use their personal account, they often get distracted by whatever emails. Yeah. It's not worth it.
No, I wasn't thinking using personal accounts. I was just curious about like when Google.
Yeah. Okay, so the Interactive Animal Project intro, that's when they make a copy of the template. And it's pretty self-explanatory. The sensors, they basically understand about the sensors, and then they take the quiz. The introduction to robotics, 1, 2, and 3.
Sorry.
So they understand the scope of robotics and they get interested. There's also some other videos that they can watch if they're super interested in it. They're like extras. They don't have to watch them, but some kids are like, oh, this is the coolest thing, right? And it's cool to get them fired up about things that are real. So you can use your judgment if they're getting distracted by the extra videos or this is actually seeding some passion that they have. Getting started with Thymeo intro. So that shows like the cool abilities of Thymeo. It also leads them through the setup of the robot and the software and so forth. If you're having your kids bring your own laptops, I'd recommend at one point where they're like doing something else that you go around with a flash drive that's loaded with the Aceba software and whatever needs to be installed, and you do the installation one by one as they're like watching videos about something. That makes it so there's just more flow in the classroom and there's not a stop. We all have to do this. That it just takes away that complication. It is important if they are bringing their own laptops that either you have them install the software before camp or they have rights to install software. One thing to note, if you're installing the software on a Mac, you might have a security issue. But if you know how to deal with that, it's going to say it's unidentified developers. You have to go to the privacy and allow that. Any questions about that?
I didn't have any problem with this.
What'd you say?
I didn't have any problem.
Okay, that's good. Sometimes you get an error message that says,
oh, I got a window message saying, hey, it's this unidentified source. Do you want to continue?
Yeah, okay. Everyone has their settings a little bit differently.
Right.
So let's go. Okay, pre-programmed modes. So was everyone able to install the software and do the visual programming language?
You just started getting to that point. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. And Kim, you still haven't gotten there yet?
Yeah.
Okay. So all of that should be, I'm just gonna, well, I was about to walk through it, but my videos would walk through it the exact same way I would walk through it, hence the reason for the videos. But you just get the software up and running. If you have a wireless Thymeo, you just plug in the dongle and then you just do that. And then when you open Aceba Studio, it should automatically be connected. I will show you one thing because sometimes there's a little bit of confusion. Let me share this screen with you. Oops. Okay, so you see the screen.
Oh, it's switched back. There it is.
So you can either go to Aceba Studio or Aceba Studio for Thymeo. I'm just going to do the more complicated one. I mean, it's all pretty much the same thing. But just in case you just open Aceba Studio, it looks like this. Mm-hmm. So what needs to happen is you actually need to click Thymeo to wireless and then hit connect. So once this pops up, you click Launch VPL. Now that's not supposed to happen. Let's try it one more time. Okay, see, I'm encountering an issue live, which is actually good, because you might have to troubleshoot live, and that's the hardest thing to do. So right now, I'm using a wireless Thymeo, and for some reason, when I'm hitting VPL, I think it was having a hard time maintaining a constant connection. Now, if you are using a wireless one and you have issues like that, you can always just wire it up, and that should take away the issue. Real quickly, These are, if this is true, then do this. In this programming language, you can say, if I press this forward button, you can do things like drive forward. You see the little icon move. Okay, see, I am having connection issues, which this is different for me. I'm gonna grab a cord, give me 1 second. So you can tell I'm having connection issues by the way that the screen is appearing and disappearing. Right. So I'm disconnecting the dongle right now. Now you notice how this error message is coming up. Never hit stop trying, otherwise you're gonna have to reopen up everything again. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug this in. So I just wired up my robot. So everything is refreshing and now I shouldn't have a connection issue anymore. So this one says, if I press the forward button, make my robot drive forward. You have RGB, you've got 3 lights. You can mix them to make your robot a different color. These are half notes and whole notes, so you can actually click these around to just make them disappear or so forth. This is the top light, and this is the bottom light of Thymio. And it's always good if you program your robot to go, you should always make a way to make your robot stop. And then to send your program to your robot, you hit play. Okay, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen right now. And you should be able to see my robot. Now if I hit the forward button, it's doing what I asked it to do. And if I hit the middle button, it does the other thing I asked it to do. So the robot, it's important to note that after the program is here, you can unplug the robot and it stores it. Now, it's also an important thing to note that if you keep right now, if I press the middle button, I program that button. But if I hold that middle button too long, the robot turns off. And when the robot turns off, the program that you temporarily saved to your robot is forgotten. Does that make sense? So there are ways to write this program onto the robot, which might be something that you want to do. So I have a note for you. So I'm going to turn on my robot here. Okay. Now I'm switching it, and it's hard to see, but I'm changing the different colors. If there is a setting here where all the lights turn off, and I press that middle button, that's actually the user saved mode that it's in. The only way to get out of the user saved mode is by turning off the robot. So let me show you. I'm going to take my robot and plugging it in. Okay, I'm going to do the screen share.
Sharon, can you explain what do you mean all the lights are off? Which lights are you talking about on the Thymio?
Yeah, I'm about to show it to you.
Okay.
Okay, so for instance, right here is my visual programming language. The code gets composed real time. And to be quite frankly, the second you add in a sound block, this code becomes horrendous. If I delete the sound block, the code is beautiful. So if you're actually at some point trying to explain code, make sure you don't have a sound block in there because it's very scary once you add the sound block in there. Okay, but what you'll notice is if you move this around, you see these numbers get updated real time, which makes it easy to understand real code and what these pictures mean. This is super powerful for teaching coding. So if I click this button, you can see when button.forward equals 1 and button.center equals 1 do this. Okay, so this is really, really nice. Now, I'm going to close this. What's important to note is once you go simple, you can't go, once you go simple and then you go to more complicated, you cannot go back to simple. So I can do the visual programming language. If I click this, I'm adding more features. So this gives me the ability, this is the advanced visual programming language. This gives me the ability to add in modes, add in timers. It also allows me to be able to say, if I tilt the robot these degrees, do this. You can also say, this is a new feature if you've had your robot for a while and you haven't updated the software. You can actually program buttons on the remote control. Say, if I press the button number 2, make my robot drive. Okay? So this is the advanced visual programming language. Now keep in mind, all of this requires a higher level of detail than the simple visual language provides. So if I try to unclick this button, I'm going to get an error message that says, you are currently using states. Returning to simple mode will discard any state filter or state setting card. Are you sure you want to continue? They're giving you the warning that if I hit yes, I'm removing all of the complications I just had, and now it's lost. So I can go from simple to more complicated, but you can't go the other way around, which is a very important thing to note. So I can do this. I can add in some advanced visual programming language, whatever I want to do, okay? Now, you'll notice this. This is an error message. It says, please add an action. This means, and you see how this button isn't clickable. It's because my code can't compile. It's showing me an error. I can put in a block, and now the error goes away. And that's okay now. So I can hit play. Now the program is on my robot. Let me just make sure my program makes a little bit of sense since I was editing it. Okay, so here is my code. Now there's a few options. One, I can hit save, and this will give me the option to name my file. Keep in mind, the people will be saving you want to save files to the computer. You're not really saving it to the robot. Sometimes that confuses people. Now, the other thing to note is in order to open up a document, you can't just locate it on my computer and double click and have it open. You need to actually open up Aciba Studio and then click the open button in order to open up a file. So in order to actually open up their code, you need to do it this way as opposed to just finding the file on your computer. So I just had a glitch happen, and Aciba Studio shut down. So it's also good to have the kids save early, save often. Okay, that's going to reduce any frustration. But if they ruin their code, make sure they save a different version and not saving on top. So you might want to say V1, V2, V3. So I'm going to hit reopen. Remember, I have to click Mute too. I'm going to hit File, Open Recent, Sample Code. And here is that code. Now, I'm going to go ahead and a quick note. This button here saves a screenshot. And so when they actually want to put a picture of their code in their slide documents, they can do it this way.
Can you show which button that was again, Sharon?
It's the one of the camera.
Camera.
I'll show you in a second.
Oh, yes, yes. Okay.
It's this one here.
Yes. Will you be talking about how to save a program on the robot later, or?
Yeah, I'm doing it. I'm going through that. I just,
okay.
Yeah. So for instance, by pressing that camera button, it saved a file that looks like this. So this is a nice thing, a nice picture to import onto the slides. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close this. Now, as I said before, once you go complicated, you can't go back to simple. So this is a full-on code editor which I'm able to just go ahead and edit this code. If I click auto, here, I can actually see my sensor data, like prox horizontal. So if I put my hand in front of the robot, you see how all those sensor data, you can see all the sensor data, which is
Where is the auto that you clicked?
Auto is right up here.
Oh, there. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so you click auto, and then you can pass your hand in front, and you can actually see the sensor data. Like, I'm going to go ahead and click button.forward, and you see how it's 0 right here. If I press it, it becomes 1. If I release it, it becomes 0. Now, in this programming language, you need to hit load and run in order for the program to be on your robot. Okay? So load and run, and now my robot is doing that. If you want your robot to just stop, you click this stop Thymeo button. Okay, this stop is the exact same one as on the visual programming language, where if your robot's at it like being crazy, you just hit stop and it just stops the program in its tracks. Now, I was talking about a way to actually save the program onto your robot. So if I go over to Tools, there's Write the Program inside Thymeo. Okay? What this does is it saves the user program as one of the modes inside of Thymeo. Okay? So I'm going to turn off my screen share. Okay, so here's my robot. I'm going to unplug it, and I'm going to turn my robot off. Okay, because what we did is we just wrote the program inside of Thymeo. You can have one saved program on Thymeo at a time. So you should always have the program saved on the computer. But this is good to save it onto the robot. If, for instance, they're doing their presentation and they're likely to turn off the robot, and you really need that robot to have the program, and you put away the computers and you don't like presentation comes and you need them to be able to pull up their program. So I'm going to turn on the robot. Now, you notice the difference here. I turn on the robot, but there's not a color. So this is what I was talking about a user saved mode. Because if I hit the arrow button, I see the colors, but there is one place where the colors go off. This is the user program that I just wrote onto the robot, and it's forever going to be on there unless I delete it or replace it with another program. So if I press the middle button, now I'm in that user mode. If I press forward, it's doing, I might have messed that up. But it's doing my user saved program. Now the key here is I can't get out of this program by pressing the middle button like I can with the other ones. I actually have to turn off my robot. Now the other thing to note is these capacitive touch buttons, if you touch them too much, they get desensitized. So if for some reason a button is not responding, what you need to do is remove your hand and count to 5 and go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then take your finger and place it on the center to turn it on, okay? What I'm doing is I'm just reviewing the biggest question marks that people have that will come up most often, because you guys are gonna have to be the problem solvers in the room. And so the parts that go through are all within the videos, but these are the pain points that students come across and that you have to troubleshoot very quickly around the room.
Sharon, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So you saved the program where you were in the code mode, not in the VPL mode, correct?
Exactly. It's the only way to do it.
It's the only way to do it. Okay. So my second question is, when you went into the code that you downloaded, you couldn't get out. Is that because of what you program, or in general you can't get out? You have to turn power down and power up.
You can't get out because the thing is that you're able to program the center button. And because they allow you to program the center button, they don't know that by pressing the center button, trying to do something within the user save program, or you want to get out of that mode.
Okay.
So because of that, they lock you in that mode
Okay.
until you turn off the robot. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you turn it off. It's still there, though, right? The program is there.
I turn it off. It's still there. It's here.
Okay.
But I can do the green mode like before.
Yes.
I can press the middle button. I can get to the yellow mode like before.
So it's the no color. It's still there.
But if I go to the no color, I press it. That's it. I'm locked in there.
Okay. You're
so
in that.
The only way to get out of that is by turning it off.
Okay. And you can download, like if you extend your program, you do more code, you can download it again. It will rewrite that, right?
Yeah, it'll always rewrite that position.
Okay.
Sorry, I know I'm a little confused. I wasn't confused. Now I got confused. What do you mean by you're locked in there? When you're in that user mode, where you're locked in there when you press the center button?
So in all of the pre-program modes,
right?
If I'm in green mode, I can press the middle button, and now I'm in green mode.
Okay.
To get out of green mode, I press the middle button, and now I can switch to red mode.
Right.
Now I'm in red mode. Okay.
Right.
But the thing is I can go in and out different modes, but if I enter the user save mode, I get locked into the user save mode until I turn off my robot.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the deal there. Now, Kim and Debbie, you won't have these cards, but Parto, you do. Just a note, if you're having the kids mess around with the cards, they can shoot across the room. So there's like a nice spring-loaded action. So if you're having them deal with the cards, you know, make sure that they cover up, and then they might even need, like they're a little hard. You like need a nail to press it in and out. But keep in mind that like I can spring load it and have it shoot up. So
I'm a little concerned about actually having the kids because it looks so fragile, you know.
Yeah, those are tiny little. Those are small memory cards, right?
Easy to get lost. Yeah, so I don't know, but it's really fun. Kids love sounds.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, I have enough information in there, and then you can just, if you have them deal with the cards, just put a little alert out there just to be more careful. And also just make sure, like I'm pretty good with the pictures, but you want to make sure that they don't jam them in upside down or do stupid things with them.
Yeah, I had those on my camera. I use them in my inside. You know, I have a user special adapter for my camera, but those are really tiny. I have a problem with those myself.
You need to put this inside an adapter in order to get into your computer. So, you know, you just have to be, you know, when you give kids technology, you have to just be aware that they might just try to stick it into the computer without an adapter.
Right.
So, you know, you just have to, you know, stay a few steps ahead of what the kids might do. But I tried my best to kind of convey all the information. If they were to walk through it perfectly, that's great. But, you know, kids like to stray a bit. And so preempt them by saying, hey, if you're going to be using this card, make sure you use an adapter and don't lose it because it's really small. So those extra verbal reminders are always super important. Okay.
So for me, just out of curiosity, what do they get to put on that? I mean, obviously the ones I'm using don't have that, but
they can put custom sounds on there.
Okay.
It's like cool, and they need to do it with code. The kids, like, it is a cool feature. It's a little bit more complicated than I would like.
Right.
And the reason why, like you and Kim, actually, if you're borrowing robots from me, I lied. You probably will have access to these cards. I stopped selling the cards because they're really hard to find now. They like now create faster cards, and so I can't get the cards I need for the robots. But if you're borrowing the robots from me, then I'll probably include the cards. You just have to be extra careful with them so you don't lose them. Okay, so any questions about the robot or anything I went over just now? Okay. So I went over a bit of the visual programming language, the visual programming language 2. Now keep in mind, I'm just kind of going over as a teacher where your pain points would be. I'm not walking you through exactly how to do everything. That's what the video lessons are. Opening a saved program. I mentioned you can't just open it up in my computer. You actually have to open up the Studio and locate it that way. So that is important to note. Now, line following. Line following is pretty cool. Parto, do you have a gaffer's tape line that you use already?
Which adapters?
Gaffer's tape. Do you have a line that you use?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. So Debbie and Kim, I'll be giving you what you need with respects to a line. Like I'll give you whatever, line that your kids can follow. Do each of you have access to like a printer or something if you need to print some pages?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I too.
Template.
Yeah.
That it's like it looks like a thymio, and the kids can just cut out the 2 little eye holes, and you can see it from the video, but it teaches them how the robot sees black or white. If I see 2 black, I go forward. If I see 1 on white and 1 on black, then I have to turn towards the black. And so it's a nice visual cue and a nice visual understanding to how line following with the robot works. So that's pretty useful. But that's a printable guide that you can print, and you have that. Let me close this. Okay, visual programming, we went over that. Building basics. Now, in the most recent document I shared with you, it has a list, and I can go through that list now of stuff to gather for a successful TechyKids program. So let me share my screen. Let me remember how to share my screen. I can't find the button. Oh, there it is. Okay, do you guys see my screen here?
I'm challenged for a second because I have too many things open. I'm trying to close something down.
Okay, so this is a document. It's more of a reference document. You have 24 pages of it, but this will just, it's a nice reference document that goes over like the TechyKids project flow. First it was creative, deep, technical. This is the glossary, so it helps you to understand some of the components from what the project slides are, the learning path. What's the order to do the learning path? The TechyKids system has a badge map. Something to note is that TechyKids has breadth and depth. So you can go like 1, then 2. But if you want to do the robotics, like 3 and 4, I'd recommend doing number 2 first. Sorry, this is kind of small. I want to make sure you actually see it. So for instance, the things that go down often build upon one another. So I wouldn't ever do VPL4 if the kids haven't done VPL2. But the kids can skip around this way if they want to. Now, there is a logical flow to the way TechyKids is done, but if they start doing the pre-program modes before they learn how to build it with it, or built with it before they learn how to use the pre-program modes, they can still get value out of that. Does that make sense? So it's not just 1, then 2, then 3, then 4. there is a reason why it's designed in this kind of a way. And so just remember that this is breadth in different subject areas, and this is depth. And often enough, depth requires building upon skills. So when the badges are full color, it means it's completed. If it's dim, it means they haven't completed it yet. This is the profile view. This is a accumulation of the different learnings that the kids are doing. So if they do 2 courses or 3 courses, you'll see all the badges they earned in the profile view. Now I've mapped the different subject areas to different colors. This gives you kind of a layout of what the colors actually mean in TechyKids. And there's videos, quizzes, challenges, projects.
Cheryl?
Yeah.
I have a question. Are there any bugs on the quizzes, or for example, you complete a session but the badge is still dim?
So
does that happen?
You successfully completed a quiz and the quiz says 100%. The only bug I've encountered thus far is you might need to go back to the lesson, and there might be a button there that now says mark complete, and then you have to click the mark complete button. I have done it where you take a quiz and you complete the quiz, and for some reason it shovels you somewhere else without letting you hit the mark complete automatically. So that is the bug I'm familiar with.
Okay. Yeah, I had this issue. Well, I'll do it again to see, but I kept taking the quiz and I got them all right. Not initially, after 2 or 3 times, but it still gave me the old message, which was 3 of 5 complete, even though they're all correct. So I don't know.
For something like that, take a look at it, and then if you have a problem, then I'll look into it for you. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. This is important. Now, actually, I'm going to go back to the user inspiration, and I'm going to about set up equipment and materials. So right here, and you can find this by just going to the table of contents, and it says, okay, so over here where it says set up equipment and materials, you can just click here and then click here, and then it's going to take you straight to it. Okay, so 1 Thymio per 2 students plus 1 instructor robot, 1 computer per robot. Required laptop/computers with internet access. I don't know why for Microsoft Office, so I'm going to delete that. Google Drive offline installed to laptops. That's not necessarily needed, but it doesn't hurt either. Audacity is important if you want to do the sound recording. There is a lesson about creating your custom sounds. Extension cords. This is important to make sure that you have extension cords, power strips, so the kids can power their laptops. 1 flash drive per class with loaded software for the studio and Scratch. It's always good to have a flash drive because for some reason, if the internet fails or it's super slow, I think I'm hearing some sort of feedback. Like, can someone mute their microphone? So there's a flash drive per class with loaded software. So I'd recommend having that on a flash drive with the programs. That way, if the internet is kind of slow, it gives you the opportunity to go around with the flash drive and install it as well. 1 or 2 iPads for green screen and project recording, iPad microphone, or earbuds with microphone. The kids will be using the iPads. Debbie, do you have an iPad?
I do, yes.
Cool. So the iPads work really great to record the videos, and the classroom can get kind of noisy. And so if you have some sort of a microphone, and they're pretty cheap to get, or you can even use those earbuds and have the kids talk into that microphone, that works pretty well too. That way the kids can do filming of their videos without telling the entire class to be quiet. Green fabric for green screen. I mean, that's pretty self-explanatory, but a nice green, kind of like a Kermit the Frog green, is like a really good green to use for a green screen. Okay, this is not useful. Strongly preferred. Internet. Well, we told you this is required, especially to use the TechyKids system. A whiteboard with markers. It's always nice to be able to write things. So if for some reason the classroom that you're using doesn't have that, I'd recommend getting like a big white sheet of paper that you can write on, so you can have a place where you write stuff the kids can see. Projector, large display monitor, extra micro USB cords. A lot of times the thing that fails the quickest is the USB cord for the robot. Just keep that in mind. USB to power outlet connector. That's always good. It more rapidly charges the robot. A cell phone charger will do. Headphones. Can request students to bring. Headphone splitters. Because a lot of times you might have two kids working on one computer, and this will allow two kids to be able to listen to the lesson at the same time without disturbing the people around them. Notepad, it's not actually really needed, but it doesn't hurt. It's always nice to be able to write stuff down, but it's not needed. Building tools, scissors. Obviously nothing like too crazy sharp. You know, we want to remove as much liability as possible. But if you have, you know, scissors that cut well for kids and aren't dangerous, that would be ideal. Building materials, Lego Technics. Pardo, you had asked this question. I put a link over here.
Okay.
So I have a sorted Lego Technic for classroom, and then I have 8 Lego Technic large wheels. So I'm gonna.
So the assorted one, how many kids is that good for? You have one of it. I see. Okay.
Yeah. So like this is the assorted bag.
Okay.
And then these are the wheels.
Oh.
So I'm pretty sure it's about the same Lego that you'd receive in one of those big bins that cost like $100+ from Lego. So you can use your judgment. You know, it just depends if you have those Lego savvy kids or not. But yeah. These are the Lego Technics. These work well because you can plug it into the wheels and so forth, and you can do some really interesting stuff. So these are different than just the Lego structural blocks.
Okay.
But yeah, so I have these and I have these, and Parto, obviously you have a bunch of Thymios and buildings, so
yeah, I'll get.
How much do you recommend per like how would that divide over people? How would you think?
It's always kind of tricky. Like, let me think about this for a second. Like, honestly, probably for a class, I would probably say maybe like three of these and like 2 of these would be pretty good.
Okay.
So I'd probably put like 3 of these and like 2 of these. And that should be enough Lego for them to be, you know, dangerous. It's not like it's not enough Lego for like crazy Lego creations for everybody.
Right.
but we have a distribution of people who love Lego and who aren't using it, and it's enough, right? These Lego and Thymia are also compatible with the structural kind.
Okay.
So you can, a lot of people have those like lying around the house, so you can always just throw those and mix them up amongst the Technic, and it gives a basis, or keep them separated, whatever you want to do. But in my experience, it's not worth it to ever sort Lego. You just have the Lego, and then you have them break down their creations when they're done and call it a day. Okay. Let's see what we have here. Oh, and quick note. So like, this is where the pegs go into. So it's important to note that the middle one is not, this is literally for the screw. It's not to put anything in. But if you put a peg into one of these, it will actually click in. But don't put a double peg in because it's really hard to get out. Like there's pegs that have, there's pegs like this that have a 2-notch system. And if you place this part into the wheel part, it's really hard to get out. So if they use the long peg, make sure that they only put in the one side, if that makes any sense. Because if you put in the 2 side, it's really hard to get out. But this clicks into place, which makes it fairly secure when you want to add other parts as well. So right, you can all of a sudden get fairly interesting things going. This over here, there's a hitch that you can also attach Lego and whatnot to. There's notches up here for Lego, and then there's places on the side here that you can also add notches. Here is for a marker. And so having big sheets of white paper that the kids can draw on is really fun as well. Okay. So, okay, let me go back to sharing my screen. Any questions about anything I just said? Okay.
Sharon, I was wondering for the marker thing, can you show a quick sample program that you can put on that you can run it on with the marker, like the spirograph one?
Sure. Let me see, settings. Okay, so for instance, under projects and activities, I have like kind of fun activities to do. Now, camp, you'll definitely receive different kids with different interests. And some kids, I mean, your goal at camp is that they just all have fun. And the great thing with TechyKids is I have all sorts of resources to promote fun. So this is the Thymia drawing patterns with iterations activity. If you click this, you can literally copy and paste this into the Aceva code editor. Oh, this one got deleted. But you can see some of the sample patterns of what it looks like at the end. So you can just copy and paste this code and it'll start drawing for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Something that's also fun is like the Thymia musical instrument, the Thymia yoga ball balance. If you have a big yoga ball, some kids get really interested in this because what you're able to do is a project like this. The disadvantage of the big yoga ball is if the kids aren't careful, the robot can take a tumble. So anyway, you have all those options under the project's activities. Also, it's really fun because the kids can actually search for like projects, for instance, and like get some inspiration, like design for disabilities. They can click that. It'll do a search for other kids' projects. And sometimes they might like think a project is really cool and want to like build it and like expand onto it and be like, oh, well, I like this project, but I want to change it. So, you know, camp is a time for them to learn, explore, and have fun. And so I'm not really a big fan of just doing exactly what you see, but if they're willing to like do it and improve upon it, then that's fine, because you always want them to not just copy something verbatim, but add their own flair and enthusiasm for it. One time I had a bunch of kids work on a project over the school year, and then they continued to work on the project at summer camp. And then the next week of camp, some campers from the first week wanted to improve the design. And so that was pretty interesting. That one was called Rulebot. But I may or may not find it. Anyway, it exists.
I find sometimes simple little projects maybe just the key to get someone who's having a challenge interested in things. You know, I had a lot. Mm-hmm. At my range, a lot of times I had somebody with special needs or in scouting in general. And if there's something very simple that we can make a deal, they try this, then they end up getting really engaged into it afterwards. So exactly. It could be a good segue.
So sometimes, like if the kid is like, well, I'm interested in this, but I don't like robots. If you you could do a quick search. Like if they're like, I like tigers. Like if you type tiger in, it very well might just pull up a couple of tiger projects, right? So like if the kid is into something, you could do a quick search and then see, oh, what do you think of this? And then spur them down that channel. Let's see. Okay, so Lego building blocks, blue tape. I love blue tape. Blue tape goes on the robot and removes and doesn't leave a mess. Masking tape for permanent fixtures, i.e. paper on paper. Construction paper, good. Bago stuff. Sometimes you just have random stuff and it promotes creativity. PVC pipe and connectors. If you want it, you can do it. Sometimes kids come up with cool stuff with that. Pipe cleaners. Activity materials. Gaffer's tape. Thin markers to fit in Vimeo. Poster board / big white drawing paper. And then this talks about the micro SD and then the universal remote control. Everyone kind of clear about what's on this list? Okay, so that would explain. Okay, back to building basics. So this one goes over building Lego and blue tape and everything like that. So if you want to see the materials in use, check out the building basics course. Creating and playing a sound file. Parto had some questions going into here. Now, this walks them through. First of all, to use a custom sound, the important thing is that it needs to be called in code. It is actually not, it's not non-trivial to put custom sound, and this walks through it. So it's not very easy. But if you want to do it, this walks them through, and I told them it's important to put it in the right direction, and that's why the pictures are taken as so. And I didn't want them to put the little cards inside the computer, so I created visuals for that as well. And, you know, talking about putting that card in, and obviously it's important that it doesn't just shoot across the room. Now, Parto, here's a list of pre-recorded sound files included with your micro SD. Okay. If you click sound files, it brings you here. And all you do is you click download.
All right.
And now the file is downloading on my computer. So if I, so right here is my zip file. If I double click that, what it's going to do is it's going to extract those files. And I open this, And then I would just copy and paste all these files and put it into my card.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, and if you wanted to play one of them, like here's P7. Who knows, it's not playing. Oh, there we go. Oops. iTunes open and now it's playing all my other music.
Oh. Yeah.
All right. So that was Blessed Union of Souls.
I was going to say, wow, that's pretty impressive for the.
That's a big sound file. My God.
Yeah, exactly right. Okay, so there we are. Collaborative document. Okay, photo. Now, this will allow them to, you can store your photos a bunch of ways, but you can play around with this if you want. This is a way, even from an iPad, they can upload their photo. It's a way to get past the needing email thing. This actually uploads it to a public or shared Google folder that they then open this, and then when they get back to their computer, it'll be in this folder. So it's kind of my workaround for classrooms that like don't have email per se. Video. This sometimes can be slow, sometimes work. You might want to like test it out, but you can type in the video title and then drag and drop the file into here. And it's going to be uploading their video file to Vimeo, which is a more secure place than YouTube. And it's going to be in my Vimeo account. So I'd prefer you to use this, but if you have issues, you can upload it to the TechyKids Camp YouTube account, and then we'll go from there. But if you can, I'd prefer you to drag the file into here and upload it to Vimeo. Like the kids should be doing that. Parto, you mentioned you wanted to spend more time with the Chroma key. This tells you what app to download. The app is just $2.99. It's a really cool app, so I just recommend that you guys download that on your iPad to have it, and you'll be using this inside the classroom. Okay, and then they submit their Thymio Interactive Animal Project. It shows up on TechyKids.com, just like so. And then on Friday, you basically pull up each. So like, let's say it's Friday, and each kid, when they're done the project, ends up with a screen like this. And Friday presentation day comes, and you basically show this on the projector, and each kid presents out their project. First, they go over their you know, they present handicap helper, and they get super proud because this is their work, and they go back and forth reading out what they've created. And then you show off their video, and the parents and the students clap, and then you say, okay, great, next project. Make sense? So this is kind of their Friday showcase. And so as they complete projects in class, they end up with a fully published project, which is exciting.
So what's being used for the backgrounds? I know you use green screens, but what is being used to fill in like the imagery or images or yeah, or another video I watched there where they made a whole animation out of it type of a thing. Is there a particular program?
Video. I also had taught my students to do animations in PowerPoint and then screen record it. And this is simply green screen.
Okay.
So I didn't expand too much with animations in PowerPoint because not everyone has PowerPoint because it's like a paid app. So I did that in my classroom because we had PowerPoint, but I didn't expand that into TechyKids lessons because, you know, schools may or may not have PowerPoint. And Google animation isn't advanced.
Okay.
Okay. So let's see. Okay, Thymio Intermediate. Invent a Thymio product project. Now, this is one near and dear to my heart. So if we go to Thymio Intermediate, this is the inspiration game, okay? Kids also love this. It's basically a random idea generator that helps them collaborate and come around and get excited about an idea. The way this works is we're going to be building a robot, create a robot invention with the Thymio robot and code with a SEPA Studio. So they randomly click this. They're designing something for Supergirl. So they have to think about Supergirl and what they know about Supergirl. You know, she's super strong, she's super fast, she can fly. And then we click this and the verb action is grabs. So maybe she needs something to grab her enemy, or maybe grab her tools, or maybe when she's flying around, she needs to grab a drink, right? So you think of some different ideas, and then the inspiration card is something, oh, that's kind of funny. Let's pick another one. Something out of left field, like for instance, the sun. Now, it's not Supergirl grabs the sun, but what the sun is you break that up into things that are interesting. Like the sun, it makes things grow. It makes things warm. It makes people happy. It's really bright. So you think of the interesting things about the sun, and then you start to cross it with the Supergirl and grabs. So maybe, for instance, if she grabs a drink while she's flying, but she goes too close to the sun, maybe she needs something to keep her drink cool. Or maybe the sun is hot, and when she's grabbing something on the go, it has a tendency to cool, and so she needs to keep it warm. But you kind of, it's a cool way that the kids get excited about. It comes up with unique ideas, and that's part of the reason why I'm able to have so many different and unique ideas on TechyKids. Any questions about the inspiration game? Okay, cool. Okay. So user interaction, product design, getting started with Thymio, Aceba code. It is really important. It doesn't sound like too many of you have been able to get to the code part. Kids love code. They will get into the code. And it's really good for you to have somewhat of an understanding of code. I also have these pamphlets, printable Thymio reference packet. So these are extremely helpful, and you can print this off, have a guide for camp, but this gives you a map of what each sensor and button is called, to call them in code. And you can watch the lesson I do about coding, and this packet comes in really useful. But do take some time and actually do some coding, because the kids get into it. They're super proud of themselves. And the parents also get so proud to see their kids actually writing real code. And a lot of times that's the differentiator between a TechyKids camp and a lot of the other camps where they're just doing the block-based language, where TechyKids are like, I did coding on the second day. I did coding on the first day, right? Like, it's huge. Okay, then it talks about opening a saved program, Aceba code iteration sequence, playing a sound file. Some of these, like building basics, are just carryover. They don't have to do it a second time. It's just building is part of it, so they can just keep going. Logo design. The kids love logo design. This teaches them how to draw with Google Drawing, and they actually create a logo that they put into their slideshow presentation and that they're super happy about. Okay, I'm gonna stop the screen share. Any questions?
No. I'm shaking my head. I realize I don't have my thing unmuted. No, I don't have any questions.
Parto, Kim?
Well, I think it's just very comprehensive and very, very nice. You've done a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just have to try it out. I'm a little bit, I mean, I teach coding, basic coding with Arduino, but I'm a little bit intimidated about teaching coding. I feel like I have to be an expert. And if they have an issue, then how am I going to figure it out?
I was looking at it, and I don't have that much of a background, just started to jump in, but I have a small background in coding. But I thought that the way that it was set up was really nice and pretty workable. You know, especially when you had the examples, especially if we take the soundbite out. The soundbite, I can see where it adds a lot of extra to it. But the visual block I thought were pretty easy to follow, and the cutting and pasting, it seemed it was very more easier than something like C++ or Java or something having to go.
Yeah, but farther, then when you get farther, I think Sharon kind of goes and codes stuff. And
Have you done it yet? Have you done those lessons yet, Parto?
I did. I did this today. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay, so you did the coding lessons.
Yeah. Though part of it I skipped, but I did, you know, like 75% of it.
Okay, well, you know, do the other 25%. Print out that packet I was just talking about as a resource guide, and see how it makes you feel then. Because, and then there are like, you can check out the kids' code in their projects, and you can actually like read it and see if you understand it. Because the format is actually fairly simple. There's usually just like one line of code that's just like, it's like on event, and then it's the sensor. So it might be like on event procs. And then that's like the subtitle that all of the proximity calls are there. So then it's just like, if there's something in this sensor, then do this and this and this and this. And then it's like, if there's something in front of this proximity sensor, then do this and this and this and this. And then you might just have another on event button. And then it's like, if you press this button, then do this and this and this and this. And that's a lot of what Aceba code is, with the exception of the iterations. But the iterations is basically that exact thing, except it basically counts. And there's a loop. Like, so for, you have some variable, cheese is less than 5, do this. And then you start with like 1, then 2, then
the counter.
You get to 5 and you get out of the loop.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the two basic things going on there. And so if you understand those concepts, you'll be like totally golden for camp.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. So I think we should have one more training, so that way I can go over just camp logistics and like safety and like checking people in and out and, you know, just the format of the week. Does that make sense? Is that okay for you guys?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that way we'll also have a little bit more time to, if you guys have more detailed questions, like I just wanted to kind of go over the big 2 projects here. I know I didn't go over like Tinkercad, but if you guys have any questions during Tinkercad, even like honestly, even if you don't do Tinkercad, I had a kid at my workshop who just like did the lesson and then they were just flying by it. So the kids can also teach themselves, but it really is important for you guys to understand the robot, because that's the main core of the camp. And so you want to be comfortable and confident going in to those camps with the robot and with the environment. So we'll send out, is there a particular time that's like good or bad for you guys? Oh, and then the other thing I want to talk about is like enrollment. Like Kim, any success, any future prospects of more kids coming in?
Maybe a couple more that I have talked to.
So you have a couple more who would be interested then?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you get like 4 kids, are you still okay with holding camp?
Yeah. I'm just going to do it.
What'd you say?
I'm just going to hold it and just get it going.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. And Debbie, how's it looking for you?
So if I have a couple interested, I'm still trying to, I have a backup location if I don't get a closer location to home. So I do have a backup location, and I'm putting in interest form out tonight to get some feedback on who would be interested. I know a couple of people that are interested, but it depends obviously which week I get for a location.
Okay, sounds good. And Parto, I forget how many you have, like 7 or something so far?
I have 7. I still have some other places I want to advertise, so I
Okay.
can get a few more. Yeah.
But
And
you're okay? Like, let's say you had 7. Are you okay holding camp with the 7?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it'd be nice to get more. Yeah.
Yeah. Of course.
Right.
We would love to get more. I just want to also make sure that each of you are like, you have a camp.
Yeah.
Right.
So yeah.
Yes, I have a backup location, and I definitely have a handful of children, parents and kids from my programs that are interested.
Okay, that sounds good. So let me just look at the calendar real quick. We're missing a few people. Are there any obvious dates that you guys can't meet in the next couple of weeks?
June 6th, 7th.
What'd you say?
June 6th and 7th.
June 6th and 7th are out for you?
Yeah.
14.
I have a Cub Scout camp from 11th to the 15th, so I'm going to be burnt out by the time I get home because my camp is all day long.
Yeah, I'm not available from 13 through the 19th.
13th through the 19th.
How about June 5th?
June 5th works.
That works for me.
Okay, yeah, I have a meeting, so I might need to start here later, but I think I could come on from like maybe 5:30 to 7:30 if that might work.
That's next Tuesday, right?
Yeah, that's next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna pencil in 5:30 to 7:30. Is that okay with you guys?
Yes.
We lost Deborah.
Oh, yep.
Make it into all of it into inches. Rewrite it so it's all under. Well, what do you think it is?
Okay, so
Yeah, think about it for a minute. You should.
right now I'm just penciling in around the range from 5:30 to 7:30. That way it'll be our final training, and that way we'll get everything covered that day. And so really make sure that any questions that you have, please bring them out. Kim, your camp is June 18th?
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully we can get some more people into there. And you've got 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so hopefully, yeah, so see if you can advertise to those local schools. Yeah, so thank you guys. If there's any other questions, are there any questions from anybody?
I just have a quick one for the liability insurance. Do you guys, I know we can get our own for extra coverage, but do you give us one to give to the site?
Yeah. Just let Rebecca know the information, and she will draft you insurance certificate. Do you have one yet?
No.
Okay, so
Are you asking me? Sorry.
yes. What's the deal?
Do I have one for what?
You have one for Kim?
For Kim, no, I needed a confirmation. I had sent out an email to Kim. I need a confirmation of the location and what she needed, I think.
I sent it back a while ago. It's at the Blue Oak Academy.
Okay, so was that for the insurance?
Yes, it's
Okay, I can send that. Get that sent out. Okay, I wasn't sure about that. Okay.
the address is in the contract that we had with.
Okay.
Okay, so then we're settled with there. So, all right, insurance certificate. I want to check if you whether your camp requires an insurance certificate and let me know the correct details. Okay, so that'll be confirmed. Any other questions? Okay, sounds good. Well, thank you, everybody, and hope all is well. And then next week, I've just penciled in, and then we can send an email checking with the rest of the gang if they can meet as well. But thanks, guys, for your time, and look forward to holding camp with you guys soon.
Okay, thank you, Sharon.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.